someone proposes an approach you know will fail because you tried it 10 years ago. You watched it fail then, you know exactly why it did not work. You open your mouth to speak, and then you stop. Because what is the point? They're not going to listen anyway. You look around the room, and you're thinking, I've been doing this longer than half the people here. And yet somehow I feel like I'm carrying all of this knowledge and nobody's actually using it. You've given this organization 20 years. You've carried the history. You know where the bodies are buried. You know exactly how to fix the problems they keep getting wrong. Now, you've started to feel like there's more to you than this one role is actually using. If that feeling, that quiet knowing that you've outgrown the room you're standing in, feels familiar, stay with me. I want to talk about what happens when you finally give your expertise the structure it deserves. And here's what I have come to understand about people like us. We are really good at holding things together. We have spent decades being the person everyone calls when things go wrong. We know the history, we know the politics, we know how to navigate the mess. Do you know what nobody is telling you about all that knowledge you're carrying? It is heavy. And the worst part, when you carry it inside a single organization, it only serves a handful of people. And when you leave, whether you choose to or whether they choose for you, all of that knowledge walks out the door with you. Unless you do something with it. Unless you take that weight and turn it into something that can stand on its own. Something that does not depend on a job title or a corner office to have value. I know that feeling intimately. When I was inside corporate, I felt like I was only scratching the surface of what I could actually offer. I had the skills, I had the experience, but I was operating within a container that could only use a fraction of what I knew. So, when I left, I started navigating entirely new spaces, client-facing roles, NGOs, diplomatic missions. I built credibility, I built relationships, I built a reputation. Eventually, I realized I was carving out my own blueprint. I just didn't have a name for it yet. I wrote a book, I stood on a stage for the first time, and when I walked off, I was genuinely in awe. Not of myself, but of what opened up when I finally gave my expertise a shape. My knowledge had finally found a container big enough to hold it. But back then, I had no blueprint on paper. I just had an undeniable nudge that there had to be more. That nudge is exactly what you're feeling right now. I want to tell you about Amber. 25 years in institutional banking. She came to our session feeling like she had nothing new to offer. She told me, Maria, I've just been doing the same thing for decades. Who would pay for that? She walked out of our 90 minutes saying something completely different. She said, I finally see what I've actually built. That shift from carrying it all alone to finally seeing it on paper happens in a single conversation. I didn't give her something she didn't have. I just asked her the right questions in the right order. Questions that extracted what was already there. Questions that named what she had been doing on autopilot for 25 years. That is what the Legacy Blueprint session does. It gives you a structure. And for the first time, you actually see what you've been holding all these years. This is what happened for Amber, and that is exactly what I want to help you do. What does that feel like, you might be asking? Well, imagine walking away from 90 minutes feeling like you have finally exhaled for the first time in years. Imagine the relief of no longer carrying the weight of your expertise alone because it finally has a structure. Imagine knowing exactly what you're building and exactly where to start. Not a vague sense of direction, a clear, specific, sequenced plan that is yours. That is what I want for you. So let me tell you exactly what this session is. And I want you to hear this because I know you've probably been sold 1,000 things before. It is not a 12-week program with homework and weekly check-ins. It is not a generic personal branding audit that tells you to update your LinkedIn headline and post 3 times a week. You don't need that. You are not an influencer. It is not a conversation that ends with a vague action list you will never look at again. The Legacy Blueprint session is one conversation. 90 minutes, that is it. The reason it works in 90 minutes is because you're not starting from scratch. You have already done the hard part. You have lived experience. You have built the expertise. All we are doing is sitting down together and finally giving it a structure. Here's what that looks like. Before we meet, I send you a short questionnaire. It's not long, but it asks you things most people have never been asked to put into words. Things like, what is the one problem you solve better than anyone else? And who is the one audience that would actually pay top dollar for that solution? During our 90 minutes, we have an honest conversation. We look at what you have built. We look at what you know. We look at the things you've been doing on autopilot for so long that you've stopped seeing them as extraordinary. We cut through the noise. We pick the one direction that makes the most sense for you. Not 10 options, not a menu. One clear path forward. And we define what your blueprint actually looks like. For one person, it is a book and a speaking platform. For another, it is an advisory practice built around a proprietary framework. For another, it is an executive education program. The blueprint fits you, not the other way around. Within 48 hours, you receive a formal project roadmap, scope, timeline, investment, everything written down so there's no ambiguity. And that blueprint is yours, whether we continue working together or not. I know that some of you are thinking right now, oh, I don't have the energy for another project. I hear you. You are exhausted. You've been running on empty for years. This is not a project. This is an extraction. You're not building something new in our session. We're pulling out what you've already spent decades building. You're just naming it for the first time. What if I don't have anything unique? That is the weight talking. That is the exhaustion talking. You've been doing this for so long that you have started to believe what you know is ordinary, but it is not. I have never, not once, sat across from someone with 15, 20 years of experience who had nothing to offer. The problem is never the lack of expertise. The problem is always the lack of structure. What if I'm not ready yet? You have been ready for years. You just haven't had the blueprint. I want to be really clear about who this is for. It is for you if you've been in the game for at least 15 years, maybe closer to 20 or 25. You might be preparing to leave corporate in the next 6 to 18 months, and you want to be prepared rather than reactive. You might have already left and you're working hard, but something is not translating. The expertise is real, but the external practice is not yet taking the shape it should. Or you might still be inside, but you've started to feel the gap between what you know and what the institution is actually using. And you know you need to start building something that belongs to you. If any of that describes you, this session was built for you. I've done this work with senior professionals across many categories: banking, technology, consulting, and the public sector. The industries change, the problem does not. I want to leave you with something. The difference between professionals who transition their expertise into a practice, platform, or body of work and those who do not is almost always about having a blueprint. Not a vague intention, not a list of things to do someday, a clear, specific sequence plan for what they are building and how they are building it. You have spent decades making other people's organizations successful. You have held the institutional memory. You have been the person everyone calls. Now, it is your turn. I do these sessions personally, so I am careful about how many I take on. If this resonates with you, I would encourage you to book while there is space. The cost of waiting is another year of carrying the weight alone, another year of watching others get it wrong, another year of having no plan for everything you know. The link to book your Legacy Blueprint session is in the description below. Remember to subscribe to this channel. Every episode gives you one more piece of the picture. I will see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you know when I drop a new video, and share.